be, then I'll go. Thought that
Good morning and welcome back to the Grand Colombia channel and welcome to Colombia. Today, a little overcast. We're in the rainy season still, goes on for a few months, and we're having record-breaking rains. Now, for a place that gets rain all the time, which is why it's always lush and green, the only news today is really about various flooding and landslides, which is something that doesn't really happen much around here because, we do get so much rain that those things were pretty much settled a long time ago. But we've been getting some pretty torrential downfalls, and it's awesome for my balcony. It's pretty great. Good morning, Christopher. Good morning, Rob. Christopher, I got your email. Thank you. I appreciate it. Things have been kind of a mess. I'll get to that and explain why here in a minute. Howard, good morning. Luz, good morning from Armenia. Nighthawk, good morning. Okay, so first of all, I will be explaining why in a moment, but I don't have a Christmas introduction or a Christmas video, which has become kind of something I do every year for the past, I think, 4 years. So I'll quickly show you last year's. So hold on. Good morning, Coleman from 19. And that's it. That's it. I'm so sorry about that. So because the only news is really about flooding and landslides, and there's one news item that has got everybody kind of furious. As you know, every country is going through its COVID issues and budget problems, and here's no different. People are really hurting. Half of the population is still working, but not quite half of the people, are having COVID issues. But the Congress here decided to vote themselves a 5% pay increase. You can imagine how that's gone over. But on that note, let's get to cliche time. The good, the bad, and the ugly. First, I'll do the good. So Christmas Day, one of my friends, she came by. She knows red is my favorite color, so she bought some new red clothes and came by to wish me a Merry Christmas. Good morning from Ohio. Mark, Merry Christmas from Houston. You guys asked me, do you have a girlfriend? And I said no, but I know a lot of people. So I thought I would just throw a couple up that just, came by the last couple days. So that was nice. She went through and cleaned my house for me. And this is a girl, she was actually born in Mexico, but we've become friends here, went to lunch the other day. She actually invited me for Christmas Eve to spend it with her family, but unfortunately I couldn't go. Something came up and I wasn't able to go. Very, very nice person. And this was Christmas Eve as the sun was going down, and it was quite spectacular. And as you know, video and photographs don't often, the audio is not working. Is it working now? Yes, yes, it is. It's working now. Your mic sounds muffled. Got a little far away with an echo. Almost the audio is not coming through. All right, let me take a moment here and check the information on it. Okay, well, it may have to be this way through the rest of the video. Sounds like it's in a hollow room. Okay, I believe I know why, but I apologize for that. And I think this microphone is probably not functioning. And when I get to the ugly, yeah, it's like I'm not using my main mic. And it probably doesn't change now, correct? Okay, well, I'm sorry for that. I'm not going to be able to change it right now, but I'll speak up a little bit. So anyway, this was a beautiful moment here when on New Year's Eve. It was quite spectacular. It was like a light show. And then we're going to get to the bad. Audio is audible. Okay. All right. Well, I apologize for that, but I'll get it fixed for next time. But like I say, I'll explain in a minute. And here is the bad. My friend's, this is my friend's niece who on Christmas Eve got hit by a car, broke her leg, and this was that night. And the next day, Christmas Day, she was in the hospital. She's going to be there for a few days. It was, it, as you can imagine, it pretty much sucked. So what I'm going to do is, if you look at the banner at the bottom of the screen here, any contributions I get from today until New Year's Eve, I will be giving to this family. And the reason I'm telling you is usually I don't announce these things, but the reason I'm telling you is because there's nothing more aggravating than to give to a particular reason or cause and then have it given somewhere else, and you may not be interested in doing that. So I'm letting you know ahead of time. So if you're planning on doing any kind of contribution, just understand that until Christmas or New Year's Eve, this is where I will be giving any contributions. They don't have the EPS healthcare. They're on basically the pauper version, which is really minimum. Her bed is actually in the hallway. Yeah, well, I won't go through all the details, but it's definitely it's a very tough situation. So just understand that, and the contribution information is at the bottom. I just wanted to make sure it's very clear that where it will be going. Alfredo, thank you. I hope you understand. I really appreciate that. Where it'll be going. Nice, the house cleaner. Yeah, she comes by every couple of days, and I've asked her, don't, and I don't pay her anything, but she just says that she likes to clean. So I did something for her some time ago, and I guess I get a lifetime of reward for it. And let's get to the ugly. Here is the ugly. Yeah, you can hear me loud and clear, and I appreciate that. I'm talking through my laptop microphone. And laptop, you say, why are you using your laptop? Well, I'm using my laptop because this happened as my Christmas present. This was my lump of coal. Now, somebody looked at that and said, well, just replace the power cord because obviously it shorted out. You could see the black marks. And no, actually, I was sitting here working on actually a Christmas present for you guys. And that's all on a hard drive. And I suspect it may be destroyed because what actually occurred is there was a loud pop. I mean, loud, like almost like a 22 pistol or a starter pistol. It had this big pop. I probably jumped out of this chair, and when it went off, I look over and I see all these sparks, like going 2 or 3 feet, sparks, and that was quite a light show. And then it started smoking, so I get up and I run over and I see that this cord was melted through, but it was melted through because of sparks coming from out of the inside of the case. And I got it unplugged, which was kind of a feat because it wasn't easily accessible. This big table's in the way. And anyway, I got it unplugged so that there was no more power going through, but there was a fire now inside the case. So I got that taken care of. So in this picture, it doesn't look so bad, but that's because everything is inside the case and just changing the power cord isn't going to do it. Now, I haven't had the heart to open it up. I suspect it's probably just the power supply. But my concern is that while this was going bad, all these sparks were going on and there was live electricity until it actually burnt through the wire. By the time I got it unplugged, it had already stopped because it severed the wire. I can just imagine the processor, the memory, they don't like those kind of things. And hopefully the hard drive will be okay. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get it taken care of, at least for another week or so, if not longer. So anyway, I pulled my laptop out and I'm scrambling trying to get this together for today. And there's lots of wires, there's lots of setup, and I wasn't even sure that I would make it. I made it. The microphone, what I would have to do actually would be to turn my laptop off, reboot, and reconnect it. And I'm not going to do that. We'll just have to live with it. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's it for my Christmas. How was your Christmas? Okay, I can't take this anymore. It was cute for a moment, but enough of that. Okay, so what else is happening in Armenia? Well, no, I'm not going to tell that story, but I didn't really do much of anything for Christmas like I usually do. What I usually get out and walk around and take videos. As you see the videos around Christmas, and in Cuenca the same thing. This year I decided that I was really going to work, and so for the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I was working. Now, Christmas Eve, the reason I didn't go visit that family was because I was waiting on a Skype call, something very important to me personally. I didn't know when it was going to come in, but I knew it was going to come in. And it came, and it was a couple hours long. I wouldn't have been able to catch that call. It wouldn't have happened. So that's why I didn't go. Otherwise, I was really disappointed because that would have been fun. I haven't met her family, And, it's always a good time to, to meet up with people like that. So Coleman, thank you, I appreciate it. Please, if you can, use the link at the bottom of the screen if you're donating for that family, and not here on the chat. It's greatly appreciated, but I won't receive this for them for about probably 4 weeks. This is very slow in processing, and the link at the bottom of this video here on the banner, that takes about 3 days to show up, and I would like to get it in their hands as soon as possible. They're struggling. Yesterday I sent a care package because she didn't have anything to eat, so I put together something and sent it over. Talk about the healthcare for a minute. Now, if you have EPS, you go in, and depending on which company you're using, you get basically a hospital stay. Things are kind of taken care of for you. They expect, like in most of Latin America, they expect family to come in and act like nurses. So you don't have nurses here or in Ecuador or other places the same as like in the U.S. That's a family's job. But if you don't have EP, if you're a local person, if you're a Colombian, and you're at a poverty rate that is so low that you can't afford to pay for the EPS, and you don't have a job that pays for the EPS, which is this girl's mother's issue. She's working under the table at horrible. They have horrible income. They live in squalor. They have a tough situation. Well, you still can go for medical, but you talk about bare bones. Like they went in, they set her leg, but you don't get any kind of medication. You don't get pain reliever, for example, beyond aspirin. And you can imagine that must have hurt a lot. So she went through a lot of pain. They don't feed you. You get water, but so it's a bare bones situation. And so that's what they're going through. And what is your opinion of experience with hospitals in Armenia? Well, I haven't been in the hospital, but I'm familiar with 3 particular situations, secondhand, where I actually knew the people and knew what was going through, and one thirdhand, where I know the person, but it was in another city and I was further removed from it. And depending on if you have EPS, for example, well, let me just talk. You got 3 tiers basically. You got the one that I'm talking about, which is it's a pauper's version. You've got maybe 20%. Let me turn that off. You got maybe 20% of the population that's involved in that. And it's terrible. It's bare minimum, but it's terrible. And then you've got your EPS system, which covers your basic needs, and you're going to get your medications, and the doctors here are good. Like, you can't blanket say that in the U.S. You could have a good doctor, you could have a bad doctor. Here's the same, but I've yet to hear any situation about, like bad medicine. They're very well trained, conscientious. I've met a few, so I wouldn't be, that I wouldn't be concerned with. I think the quality of care is good in that regard. But with EPS, you're going to get a shared hospital room, for example. You might have another person or maybe 2 other people in the room. You won't have TV, you won't have telephone, but all your basic needs and medications, and they'll feed you. That's all taken care of. And then you have the third level where you have your EPS because that's a requirement. And if you're a gringo, it's a requirement. And then if an expat, but then you can buy the add-on packages, and that puts you in a situation where it's like, if you remember the old HMO preferred care, where you had tiers that you could buy into. You could have your basic and gold and platinum or whatever it was. And you have that here also, but you can only buy it depending on the insurance company. Some are 60 years old and you can't buy the extra. Some are 62 years old. Some may say years old, but they'll still sell it to you for a few years after that. And with that add-on, it's got things like 100% of, there's no co-pays, there's private room involved. It's basically everything is really upscale. You have more choices and options, and that is probably as good as you're going to get anywhere. DPS is just your kind of basic. It's all you need really. But if you don't want to share a room with somebody or something like that, then you might want to kind of upscale it. So that's my opinion. My overall opinion is healthcare here is certainly good enough and qualified enough to where if I have a particular situation. So if my cancer returns, I've got a hospital in the United States where they'll pay for my transportation there. They'll pay for the treatment 100%. They have all my records from before. I would most likely do that. But aside from that situation, let's say I didn't have that going on, I would have absolutely no issue with being here in Colombia and being taken care of for anything. I would feel as comfortable here as anywhere back home. So that's my opinion. You guys still there? Am I still coming in? Problem is when it stops, I don't really have any way to know. It's happened before where it just kind of stopped cold, and I could be talking along for 15 minutes and don't know it. So I'm not getting any comments or messages here, so let me know if you can still hear me.
It's Q&A time. It's time to start asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question.
Okay, did you watch the concert on Capitol TV Christmas Eve? My best friend from Armenia played the flute. No, I didn't. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch a little YouTube. I watch Buffalo Bills football games sometimes. No, I don't watch any other. I watch a movie now and then. Last night I watched a Netflix movie. I haven't done that in a long time. Some midnight something or other with George Clooney in it. That was, I guess it was okay, but I watched and felt, well, that was a waste of 2 hours. So no, I didn't see it. The Dolphins are going to surprise and beat the Bills next week. Yeah, maybe. Doesn't matter. The Bills have already won the division, and next week traditionally would be the week that they would rest people up, particularly since the NFL took away the bye except for the one team. And usually it's the top 2 that get the bye. But so you could very well be right, but if that's the case, it'll be second stringers. But the Bills are looking pretty unbeatable this year. I mean, you have to admit. Okay, so do we have any Colombia related questions? Or here we go. Are American movies shown in theaters? Are they in English? Or dubbed in Spanish? Well, here in Armenia, they show all the movies that you see in the United States on whatever day it's released. You'll see here at the same time. They don't even have a delay. So if there's a big release on Friday, then it would be here on Friday. All movies these days have Spanish versions of it. And so what they see here is the movie in Spanish with no subtitles. And here in Armenia, you occasionally will get a movie that's in English and it'll put a Spanish subtitle. But it's not that often, because you have to understand that here in Armenia, there's only a couple hundred non-Colombians living here, English-speaking non-Colombians. So there's not really a call for it. If they were showing these movies, I mean, Colombians will say, "I'm not going to that one. I'll go see in the other theater the movie in my language." But it does do it occasionally if it's a big blockbuster or something. I've never gone, but I go into the mall fairly often. I have the movie theater right there, and I could see that, they show them very often. I asked one of the girls that was taking the tickets, "Do you show any English-speaking movies?" She said, "Oh, never, never, never." And then the popcorn guy, he chimed in and said, "No, we have them every few months." So if your big thing is going to the theater and having it in English or having subtitle or whatever, Armenia is not going to do it for you. Now, I could see those same movies usually within a day or two on Kodi. So I can still see the movies in the comfort of my home, and I can make my own popcorn. But other places like Medellin, you can see it on a regular basis. Manizales has it more often. I didn't go when I was there, but as I recall, I think once a week there was an English speaking movie, but there were a lot more English speaking people, not necessarily from the USA, but more English speaking people there than here. What's more popular in Colombia, Christmas or New Year's? Which child she loved the most? I would, well, they're in different ways. I mean, Christmas is family day, and Christmas is, it's wrapped around their heart. It has a lot of deep meaning. There's a lot of religious people here, and so that version of the holiday is deep rooted. And you get the Santa version of the Christmas. That's here also. They're big on lights. I didn't show it here. I probably should have. I actually forgot the clip, and it's probably on the dead laptop, or on the dead desktop. But there was a big parade that went by that was playing Christmas music, and a popular thing here is to take your car. A lot of them are Jeeps, but you take your car, van, truck, whatever, and you put lights all over it. That's a big thing here. And so the outline of the car has lights. Instead of decorating their homes like in the US, and you can just think of those Christmas movies where they're all out there outdoing themselves on the lights. Well, they do that with their cars. And so they'll have these spectacular light shows on the car where, that one car kind of light up the entire neighborhood. Well, picture 10 minutes of that driving by, car after car after car. It's quite an event, and it's really spectacular because there's so much ingenuity, there's themes involved. It's kind of a nighttime rose parade thing without the balloons. It's pretty amazing. So that's a real thing here, and kind of quite an event. And they drive from one end of the city to the other, so everybody gets a chance to see it. And then you have like the Parque de la Vida, the light show. That's so much is put into that, and it's a huge park. It's kind of like a Central Park kind of thing. And I've shown that. If you haven't seen it, go back the last two Christmases here in Armenia, right around Christmas time, and you'll see me going through the park with two different girls, and each one friends. Um, and you see how spectacular that is. So, you know, it's different here, but in a lot of ways it's very similar. You certainly get that homey feel to it. Um, as far as New Year's, we used to call it amateur night. That's the night you go out and you're drinking, and they have these little games like for the countdown. You have to eat a grape every second, and there's a series of things that they have to do that's going to bring in the New Year's. The girls put on these new panties. What is it? Like red is for passion. There's yellow. Um, I don't remember exactly what the colors are, but it's like your wish for the new year. So if you want passion, if you want money, um, when you're eating a grape, you're supposed to hold money in your hand while you're eating the grape with your other hand, and they're chowing these things down. Uh, the whole scenario is pretty funny. My ex-wife was Colombian, and when we were back in the United States, she was just adamant that was her thing for New Year's. It's like she has to do this, she has to get this and do that. And John, shout out. Please call my name, okay? John Ernie Domingo. There, your name is called. So, that's the thing. After getting EPS, the best one, is there any private upgrade? Or is a Max 62 and retirement visa? It 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 depends. If you're in your 70s, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to get the upgrade. And it's not really private. Well, there's no government insurance. Let me first put it that way, except for the poverty end. But for you, there's no government insurance. You pick an insurance company, an EPS plan that I've explained in detail how they came about this, but it was a government and private industry cooperation, and it's administered by the actual insurance company. So here in Armenia, you've got 13 or 14 different insurance companies, and they all have agreed to this basic level of care for the EPS. And the EPS, the whole reason of that is to support the people at the very bottom end so that they have health care and don't just lay in the street with a broken leg and die. So, that's what it's designed around. EPS is really all that you need. But if you upgrade it, let's say, for example, you're using the insurance company Sura. Here in Armenia, that's probably the best one. You can argue it's either Sanitas or Sura. But let's say it's Sura. Then you talk to them about, can I do some add-ons? Can I do some extra? Can I upgrade this? And they'll let you know if you can or can't. Very often, whatever they say, well, you can't go over 62, but I'm 64. It's not unusual for them to say, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and do it. But I haven't heard of anybody being able to get that after 70. So, I mean, it's an insurance company after all. So that's the deal. If you're 62 or under, and you come here, you've got a pretty good shot at it. 63. But if you come here and you're over 70, then you could still get the EPS. There's no pre-existing conditions. I think there's 1 month waiting period, and then there's no, you could be 95 years old and still enroll in EPS. There's no restrictions as far as that goes. And like I said, it's all you need, really. Is crime increasing in Armenia like it is in Medellin? Seems to be quite bad there now from all the reports I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm seeing the same information. It's getting kind of blatant. and a lot of it seems to be kind of organized. There was a video that I posted that showed it was caught on camera where in a building with a guard with locked gates, they managed to convince them that they were food delivery, came in, and then one after another came in, held the guy at gunpoint, and basically robbed the entire building. Um, Crime in Medellin is on the increase. Here, it's really not. I'm not hearing anything, and almost all my friends here are Armenian. And I ask it from time to time. A couple weeks ago, I posed the question, actually, of Natalie, the one girl, and so I'm not hearing anything about any increase in crime here. There was never a ton of crime anyway. They did just take down that drug ring that was operating here in Calarca. That was a big, made all the news, dozen people, couple guns and a bunch of drugs. But the drug business here is different than the U.S. too, because there's I don't see where the money is worth the risk. I'm told that you can get like enough weed to smoke a handful of times, or heroin enough for whatever they do with heroin, and it's like 2,000 pesos and like what 50 cents, 40, 50, 60 cents, somewhere around there. I don't know how that's even worth the risk that they're taking, but here in Armenia, things are still fine. And in 57, I was quoted, I think, about $250 last year for the best plan with Sura. If you just go to them for a private person out of the country, that's a whole different ballgame. But if you're here on visa and you have your EPS, there's add-ons to the EPS, and about the most you can spend is about $100. I know that. I looked that up. $120. So I think you may be referring to a situation where you were just buying, not attached to EPS, but just a private plan. Let me know. You can go on the website, go on the Sura website, and you know what the cost of the EPS is, and on the Sura website, you'll see the prices in the three levels of add-ons that you can get, and they do not add up to $250. Hello from Atlanta, Georgia. Is there a carnival in February in Armenia? Do the holidays in January to celebrate the first month of the year? There's carnival. There's Armenia is no different than pretty much everywhere else in Latin America. Any excuse to have a celebration, a party, a holiday. You've got all your Catholic holidays. That's an automatic. Then you have every other holiday, every other reason to have a party. I mean, that's why, when the girl's 14 years old and they have the quinceanera, I mean, where does that come from? Well, it's an old Spanish tradition, but it's like any reason for a party, because in today's world, there's no reason for that, but that's a custom that's, it's just held up. And so you have that for everything. They have, I don't know, they just have any kind of reason or excuse to have a party, and it's going on. Different cities in Colombia will have different versions, and some are better known for some things than others. So Carnival in Cartagena is probably the more spectacular of the cities in Colombia. Some may rival it, but it's kind of known for that. Here in Armenia, though, I mean, like everywhere, it's a party. What part of Armenia would you recommend looking for an apartment? Whatever part you're comfortable with. I personally don't care for the south because it's pretty warm. Not to say Armenia is not that big, and you can walk it, in just a couple hours. Well, that's true, but we have these microclimates, and that's why anything from unicentral north, or say the middle of the city north, which is called the north, is considerably cooler, and it's got that perennial breeze. Where in the south, it changes, and you can. There's days when it's sweltering there, where up here it's cool. I had somebody. I didn't actually return a comment, but I made a comment on managing a post that a guy had put up about the cost of rents in Colombia. And he was complaining because Medellin was so high and the prices have been getting jacked up and all kinds of things are going on. And there's a lot of misinformation going on there, but people, just kind of repeat it. But he was talking in Colombia in general, and he specifically asked, is it like that in other places? And so I usually don't like to comment on the Medellin website because it's got to be one of the worst websites in the world for trolls. It's just anything you put up, you might as well expect you're going to get 50 comments that are just really nasty. But I appreciate that page because there's some good information gets posted on that page. So, that's why I'm there. So in this case, I made the mistake of actually responding. And I said, well, I just rented a place here and I explained what I did and like that. And so, a troll comes along and, well, what are you talking about? We're talking about Medellin. Well, no, he specifically wasn't. And so I just quit responding. But other people, sorry about that. Other people came in and spoke up for Armenia in particular because this guy was, calling a hole in the wall and it's dead, worst place to go. And it's actually, one of the most popular tourist areas. And so other people chimed in and they were talking about how the climate was here in the north and, how comfortable it was. And it depends on, where you are in the south or north as to what the temperature is, because this troll was saying how miserably hot it was. He had been here and he was miserably hot. Well, he was probably, my guess is, he was probably in the red light district because that's why he's in Medellin apparently. And that's in an area where it's really hot. It's that part of town, except to make videos, it's the south part. I never really go there because it's uncomfortable walking, it just gets really warm and I don't like that. But I can walk all day long up here in the north in the same city where you've got the cool breezes and it's just more comfortable. So climate summary for Armenia. You believe the sun does not shine very much. Is that true? No, that's not true. We're going through an epic rainy season that I've never seen before. I've talked to people here, lived here their whole life. They've never seen it. This is unusual. So this is not the norm to get the kind of rain. But what is normal in the rainy season is you get a rain in the late afternoon. Almost always it's actually in the evening or 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So when you're home and you're sleeping is when the rain comes. You wake up, it's bright, sunshiny. You go out and it's a beautiful day. You do everything. I always try to plan to have everything done by 2 o'clock in case it rains during the rainy season, but most days it doesn't. Right now, for the past month, maybe 6 weeks, it's raining whenever it wants to, but the rains have been really hard and we've been getting a lot of afternoon rains and evening rain. So it's been raining a lot. That's not the norm, and you won't see it next year. I doubt. records are there for a reason. It's because you get these aberrations once in a while, and they make a record, and then you don't see it for, another generation. So as far as the sun goes, it's it's really not an issue here. It's one of the things I like about it is the climate. Now I don't mind rain, but if it were like this all the time, if we're like Seattle, for example, or where I'm from, upstate New York, where it snows all the time, you don't see the sun for 3 months, I would be miserable. It's not like that here. What is the sunniest city in Colombia, in my opinion? Well, the sunniest cities are going to be your hot cities, and the island of San Andreas. I love it there. It's south of Jamaica, and it's got the same Jamaican island English. It's always sunny there. Cartagena, the cities on the coast, they get their rainfall, but those are hot cities with a lot of sun. Cali, but those are places that personally I wouldn't want to live. Howard, thank you. I appreciate it. I used to live in Central Florida. There's much less sun in Armenia. I would guess, I don't know how many hours a year versus this is what, I don't know how to express this beyond the way I've said it. You can get rain every single day in Armenia, but it's a sunny day. And in Florida, like if you go to Disney World, you can have the same thing at certain times of year. You can get rain for 15 minutes in the afternoon. The sun's there before and the sun's there after. It's like that here normally. You can get rain every day. So if you look at the stats, you say you had all these days with rain, except on most of those days you never saw the rain. They came either late afternoon, but most often they'll come at night or early in the morning. So it could have rained, but you didn't see it. You wake up and you see everything's wet because it had rained, but you woke up to a bright sunshiny day. With the exception of the last two videos, every time I do this coffee time, a comment about what a bright sunshiny day it is. It wouldn't be that way. That's how it is. That's the norm. And just because we're going through an unusual time, and I'm not trying to sell you anything. I could care less if anybody comes here to live. I kind of like it the way it is. But I have to be honest about things. And I'm telling you that I don't care what the stats are, or if you came here to visit for a month at a certain time of year and you got an impression. I'm telling you that living here year after year, it is bright and sunny almost all days, even if you're going to get rain. And it's like I've said many times, one of the things I love about being here is it's always green. There's never a drought. That's a big problem in Ecuador because it rains so much, but the rain comes when you're not out doing things. So if I go to the park, the coffee park, for example, I can pretty much be sure that it's going to be a great day, but I want to plan to leave in the afternoon in case it's one of those days that goes in the afternoon. So I don't know what to tell you. Just about every day is a sunshiny day most of the time. I saw one of your videos about the cost of utilities based on sector. Are the sectors based on location, or how is it determined? It's essentially, it's an economic zone thing. And I don't know specifically how it's determined, to be honest with you, but when Robert was down here and the chief of homicide, a friend of ours, he drove us around the city. And Robert wanted to see the whole city, and so he agreed. So for hours, we drove around the city. And I had this little game where I would guess what stratus each barrio, as we pull into a barrio, I would guess, okay, this is stratus 3, this is 2, this is 4. I didn't miss a one. Robert was very impressed. And there were some barrios that I actually hadn't been through. I've been through most of them. I've been through most of the city, but there was a couple that I hadn't gone through. But just by looking, I was able to guess. So it's one of those things that if you're here very long, you can look and you just know. But it's simple enough to ask. What it boils down to is if you have a shanty town where the people there basically have no money, they're tin huts, homemade, that's going to be the lowest level. That's going to be a Stratus 1. Stratus 2 is mostly where the poor live, so you have electricity and water and internet, basic services, but it's really old housing. It's not it's not all that it's not all that great. It's just kind of seedy looking. And then you get 3, which is in the middle, and it's older housing, but it's a little nicer. It's kind of put together. There'll be some areas where Stratus 3 go, it wouldn't be a bad place to live. It's a nice little quiet neighborhood. Stratus 3 is generally pretty fine. Stratus 4 is a step above. It's like middle class or maybe even a little upper middle class. Stratus 5 is definitely upper middle class for sure. And Stratus 6 is kind of like the top tier. There's not a lot of Stratus 6 places here in Armenia, but it's definitely the top tier. I'm living in Stratus 5, and it's kind of like people hear, where you live, but so it's kind of how it works. Central Florida, the temperature is 90 to 100 degrees, 100% humidity. That's kind of my experience. And here it's high 70s to low 80s during the day. And the humidity with a breeze, even on a day where it's humid, we get them now and then. But the breeze keeps things somewhat dry and keeps the humidity level down. And I'm not kidding. And people that come here to visit, and there's been a lot of them, they say, I get what you're talking about, because they think I'm exaggerating on this breeze, that it's here all the time, day and night. But they get here and they see, I'm not kidding, there's always a breeze here, always, day and night, always a breeze. And that just keeps things fresh. Now, when you go in the south, that's not the case, because we have this microclimate. There's a specific reason about where the north is located, from the mountain range on one end to the mountain range on the other, and it has an effect. That's why the north is popular. That's why people with middle class and above prefer to live in the north, because the climate doesn't get better than this. Okay. I was miserable in Portland, gloomy, cloudy, gets for months. Thanks for the information delivery. Well, the delivery, I don't know. I get a loss for words. I've noticed that not speaking, I speak English for this, or occasionally when somebody comes by, or an occasional video call or something. But you have to understand that most of my life, I'm not speaking English anymore. And I find that after a while, we're going on some years now, that after a while, I start forgetting the words. I have to think about what is that word, and a lot of times the Spanish word comes to mind, but I'm stuck on the English word. it's a little disconcerting. There are a lot of bugs, insects, and mosquitoes in Colombia. Well, in Colombia in general. Well, I mean, Colombia is a huge country, and you got the Amazon, and so yes. Here in Armenia, no. I'll see. Even in the rainy season now, I've seen one mosquito in the last 2 months. So mosquitoes exist, but we're at an altitude similar to Denver, and mosquitoes don't like that altitude. And then when you add that to the wind and the updraft to go up the mountains, they're just kind of swept away, so not too much. A version of a cockroach, they're really tiny. Those I'm told are pretty much everywhere down here. My last apartment, I would get them every so often. They were coming from the garbage thing was in the basement garage basement floor. It was a room for it, and you throw your garbage in a chute, and it drops all the way down. And it would fill these buckets down there. And so there were cockroaches around there, and they would go up the elevator shaft, and my apartment was next to the elevator shaft. And every 2 or 3 months, I would see cockroaches, kind of rear their ugly head. And so I would spray everything down. I'd pull all the stuff out of the cabinets, and I would spray all over the place because I don't want cockroaches walking across my dishes. And then they'd be gone for another 2 or 3 months, and it would happen. Here, so far, so good. But I'm told that that's a pretty common thing. Right, one person told me, who's on the poorer side, I'd say less than middle class, and she told me there is no place that doesn't have cockroaches. Well, from her experience, I get that, but when you get to the nicer places, they actually have people that go through and you see them spraying in the hallways and stuff like that. And I think if I ever did have cockroaches, all I'd have to do is tell administration, and they would have somebody come and spray through. The last place, why didn't I do that? Well, it's not like I would just see 1 or 2, and I'd spray down and it would be gone. So, I didn't want any kind of toxic chemicals and have to stay out of my place for a day or whatever. It was easier just to take care of it. What is considered a middle class income for Armenia? Probably somewhere around 1,500 and up, I would say. 1,000, 1,500 and up a month. I second the question about mosquitoes. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that one of the key factors when I moved to South America was to get away from mosquitoes. And so when I was choosing a place, I chose the Andes Mountains because mosquitoes either don't exist or are very rare. And mosquitoes are a big thing for me because coming from upstate New York, it's some of the most beautiful places on the planet. Thousand Islands and places like that. But what would always ruin is as soon as the sun would go to, say, dusk or late afternoon, dusk, and certainly in the evening, you couldn't be out because you'd just be eaten alive. And it didn't matter if you put the stuff on you and you burned citronella, you still got eaten by mosquitoes. There were just so many that they got through, and it made it miserable. It made it hard to be outside. And so I pointedly looked for places where that wasn't an issue. In Armenia, even though it's a lower altitude, 4,500, 5,000 feet, it's high enough with enough of the breeze that it's a non-issue for me. Like I say, I saw one within the last couple of months. I do have this plug in the wall, these little Raid wafers that will go in. And it's because I got 2 mosquito bites when I was in Provenza one time. And I go, oh my God, we get mosquitoes. I didn't realize, but so I go buy it and I put it in. I ran it for a couple of days and then I forgot, and there were no more mosquitoes. And so I haven't used it since. So I got a packet with these things and I've yet to use it. So I've got it. It's really simple. I mean, you just put a wafer in the thing and plug it into the wall, and it takes care of them for, I think, like 12 hours or so. And I haven't used it. So much for mosquitoes. And I hate them with a passion. So that's my thing on mosquitoes. Okay, so we're going too long here. I want to thank you all. I thank you for the contributions. I don't know. I'll look on that other channel and hopefully something will pop up there that I can get to them in the next couple of days. I'm a little short myself, and I've got to do something with this desktop. So I'll be helping them with some food again. But anyway, just talking out loud. What do I do for fun in Armenia? I'm a pretty boring person. For fun, I'll go out and do videos. I'll make little trips. I this is gonna sound weird, but I love being in this new apartment, and I thoroughly enjoy being here. I'll play games once in a while. I'll just go out and I'll walk a couple hours a day. I'll just go out and kind of walk around and see things. I go down to the center and people watch. I like to do that. Might have a cup of coffee, sit there, watch people go by. I've got friends that'll come and visit, or I'll meet up with them somewhere and just hang out with friends. And so, pretty boring life. Now, if I had the kind of life, I mean, I used to be a hellraiser. If I had that kind of life still, there's plenty of things that I could, there's bars and discos and things, things are relatively open here now. So, I could go out and drink and pick up girls and all that kind of stuff because Armenia is conducive to that as well as anywhere else. It's just not my lifestyle. I'm generally home by 6, 7 o'clock. So from the outside, it might look like a boring life, but for me, I was a workaholic my entire life. My first job was at 10 years old, working in a junkyard, cutting steel, and my whole life I've worked. A lot of vacations I didn't go on. I would generally, even if I had one really good job, which was most of my life, I would have a second or third thing going on, 3 or 4 hours sleep because I was just always busy. I didn't know how to relax. And then I got sick. I got the cancer. I ended up in bed for 2.5 years, which was just a miserable time. It wasn't living. And then, I was supposed to die. Well, then I didn't die. And I got out of bed and I had this renewed energy. And, so I moved to Ecuador, and it took a year to be able to get up and walk again. If you're in bed for any period of time, everything atrophies. You can't walk more than 10 feet without pulling a muscle or, so I got out and I did that, and then just started traveling all around Ecuador, and then I started making my trips to Colombia. And that situation, and to this day, I am now thoroughly enjoying. If I have a couple hours where I can just come here and kick back and not worry about anything and just enjoy the fact that I'm here and in this beautiful place, it's good for me. It's all good to go out and just kind of walk around and stroll in the breeze, or even, I know how pathetic this sounds, but just going to the grocery store. I'm not there to just get shopping. I'm just kind of strolling through and taking in everything. I'm one of these people. It's like, oh, something new on the shelf today. I know how sad that sounds, but I've lived the hard life. I can't express to you that to the extent that I have lived the hard life, and and how much I've worked through my life, and how much I gave up. There's a reason I went through 2 marriages, and now to have been able to shed that pressure that caused me to be like that, and to actually be able to relax and enjoy life. And what do they say? Stop and smell the roses. That's my life today because it's of my choosing. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So that's my lifestyle. But that's not Armenia's style. You can do that here, but this is a very energetic city. It doesn't, I shouldn't be saying this stuff because I don't want waves of people coming here, but it's like a hidden gem. You not only have a nightlife that's very vibrant, friendliest people on this planet, friendliest in Colombia. They're known for that, how friendly and sincere they are. But you're in the middle of this nature that doesn't, that much of the nature that is here in this coffee region doesn't exist anywhere else on this planet. So you could be a bird watcher, a nature lover, a hiker, explorer, adventurer. You can be a party dog. You can, wanna have a new girl on your arm. All of those things are so easy here. Life is awesome. So okay, you're enjoying life, being alive after you've been through. Now you can walk and smell the roses with great life. Well, that's how I feel about it. The way I put it is easily used. Yeah, sounds good to me. I've owned a business most of my life. It never ends. Yeah, a good portion of my life, whether it was when I was consulting. The downside of that was I was just constantly in airplanes and strange hotels. Great money, but no time for myself. And I love that. Don't get me wrong. Part of the reason I was a workaholic is I love work. That's why I do these videos, because I can't shed that. But for a good part of my life, I owned a number of businesses. And when I say a number, like I had a chain. I had a chain of auto repair and collision shops. And so there's one here, and there's one over here, and there's one over there. And we had our own rental car fleet, and we had our own tow truck service vehicles. It was a big operation, commercials on the radio and TV, and that takes a lot of your time, and there's a lot of stress involved in that. Things slow down. You got a payroll of 30 some odd people that you gotta be concerned with, and I love that. It's like my life has been a game of Monopoly, but now I guess I'm playing Go Fish. I don't know. Appreciate your videos and all the effort you put into it. Seriously looking at relocating, especially looking at 12 inches of snow in my yard. Don't miss the snow at all. When it comes to climate, to me, the climate doesn't get any better than Manizales or Armenia. They're to me, the best places in Colombia when you take some other things into account. Now, somebody said it's so much hotter here in Armenia than it is in Medellin. Well, that's true if you're talking about the south part of the city, but in the north part of the city, that's not true. It's actually a similar climate. And you get your hot days in Medellin too. Don't kid me. I've been there. I know. But the thing is, pollution is a real issue, and traffic is a real issue. And so when you take that into account, then that kind of takes some of the ticks away from the climate. Those are some of the negative things. Where here, yeah, you get some traffic 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's only on certain streets. It doesn't stop you from getting to where you need to go with taxi or bus or whatever. And we have zero pollution. So it's just a much better way to live here. I say, well, the girls are more beautiful in Medellin. That's absolutely not true. You have a lot of fat girls. Okay, I'm sorry, but the thing about Medellin, and I love it. I've said this before. It's a beautiful city. It's one of the more modern cities. It's not just for Colombia, but on a world level. And I've been to 20 different countries. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. It's a beautiful city, and it's got some amazing things, and it's as modern as you want. But I know people take offense to this, but it's almost like it's not Colombia. It's become almost detached. There's so much of it because it gets so many foreigners coming in there, 40, 50,000 at a time. And it's affected how it is. It's affected pricing, but not just that, but people's attitude. So the people that you meet there, it's not that there's not going to be nice people, and it's not that they're not Colombian, but it's different. And if you live in a place like this, and then you go to a place like that, you can feel it. You can see the difference. And a lot of what makes Colombia amazing gets lost in much of Medellin. And so if the only place you go is Medellin, you'll never get a true sense of what Colombia in general is about. Now, you can argue with me, you can poo-poo me, that's my opinion. And that's coming from, I think it's an amazing city, but it's almost like you go to Disney World and you judge America based on Disney World. Well, it's different, it's not real. Or Los Angeles. Yeah, I used to call them plastic people because everybody back in the 70s, when I lived there, everybody was so fake, they were plastic people. Everybody was putting on a show. They would buy cars they couldn't afford and they would dress a certain way, and everybody was trying to be something that they weren't. Everybody was fake. And so if you go to LA back in the 70s, you had no idea what the United States was really like, because it wasn't really like that except in LA. So Armenia is untouched by those influences. And Armenia, while it's Americanized in a lot of ways. I mean, you can get Levi's 501 jeans, and you'll see the products on the shelf like you would see in Target or whatever. But the culture itself is the same as it was 20 years ago when I lived here then. So that's what I love. There's a reason people are so happy here. There's a reason when it's called Amable. It's friendly city, and how all of Colombia knows that this is the known as the friendliest place. It's not a coincidence. There's a reason for that, and it's the way of life here. Okay, talk about beating a dead horse. Greetings from Helsinki. Glad to see you again. Glad you tuned in. But we got to wrap it up. We got to go. I hope you all had a good Christmas. Why did I have my Christmas thing today and not last week? Well, it's part of that long story, and then I burned up the time as it is. Okay, so I'll see you next coffee time. Ciao.